Thank you for this wonderful event, and thank you all for coming out, taking the time to be informed voters. So my name is Sylvia Wright, and I'm your candidate for State Superintendent of Education. I'm a military kid, so Charleston was home. My dad was stationed at Charleston Air Force Base. I'm a military wife, so I've traveled to different states. I've taught in different states. My son is currently serving in the Air Force. He's a drill sergeant or military instructor. He always says the correct term is military instructor. So that's what he's doing in Texas. And my daughter is studying to be a nurse in North Charleston. And I have a grandson who's 3. So I'm personally invested. I was raised in public schools. My kids were raised in public schools, and my grandson will be entering into public schools in the next 3 years, or 2 years, because he's 3 right now. I received my Master's of Education in Educational Leadership from the Citadel. I continued at the Citadel, received my Specialist in Education, which prepared me to be a superintendent, and I'm currently working on my Doctor of Education at the University of South Carolina in Systems Improvement and Innovation, because that's what I want to bring to the education system here in South Carolina. I've been in education for over 20 years, and I've worked at every single level. I've been a classroom teacher, a department leader, an instructional coach, a school coordinator, and a district coordinator. I actually resigned from my district coordinator position to run full-time because that's how dedicated I am to improving education here in South Carolina for all kids in every county. And so that's a little bit about me. My questions. First, what is your position on restricting or banning access to certain books or materials by children in schools and public libraries? So as State Superintendent of Education, as far as the public libraries go, that's a separate entity because the parents take their children to the public library. So they would have, the restrictions based on, the parent. They have more control when it's public library. Now, as far as the school libraries go, this question addresses Regulation 43170. I don't know if you guys are familiar with 43170, but that regulation was passed to restrict books that had like sexual content and the inappropriate content for children. And so they used that regulation to ban, as a measure to ban books. It used to be at the local level where the local districts had an opportunity to, have a group and they decide which books at their district they wanted to restrict. But with this regulation, it pushed it to the state level. So South Carolina leads the nation in the most banned books. So as far as this question goes, I just wanted to clarify some of the background with this question. Restricting or banning these books, I believe it should not be a state level decision. I believe we should kick it back to the local level. That's what I plan to do, because everybody elects their school board members, okay? And then the school board members, they select their superintendents. And that's your community. So it should be your community's decision which books should be banned or restricted. It shouldn't be someone at the state telling you these books are banned for all children. And the second piece to that is there's a program called Wise Owl. And what Wise Owl does, it connects with the local libraries and the school districts, and it puts like a restriction. The parents can restrict which books they want their children to check out. And they can also see what books their children are checking out. So that's how I plan to address this as superintendent. Number one, putting it back in the local areas. Let you guys convene your councils and have that discussion as a community, what you want in your schools and not, because these are your children, your grandchildren, so you can make those decisions. Secondly, implementing that program, that way the parents have control over what their children, are reading. And that way, if they want to ban a book for their child, they can. They have that right and that power to do that without it being restricted for other children. The second question, 2 and 3 go together. So it says, what is your plan for addressing current teacher shortages in our schools? And then 3, what is your plan for retaining quality teachers in public schools? So with those 2 questions, we're talking about recruitment and retention. So as far as recruitment goes for our teacher shortage, I plan to partner with our universities and technical colleges in exchange for 5 years of teaching in South Carolina, with priority in our rural districts, because I've worked in the rural district, and that's where we have the majority of our teacher shortage crisis. But partnering with the South Carolina universities and technical schools, in exchange for them teaching in South Carolina for 5 years, we pay their tuition. That takes away student loans, because that's been one of those barriers, because the teacher pay is low. So I remember as a new teacher, because my husband was military, like I said, he was lower enlisted when I first started teaching, and I had my new teacher salary. So I remember having to eat oatmeal for dinner because I had student loans. I remember our lights were cut off. Have you ever been in the grocery store where you had to put things back because you couldn't afford everything that you had in your cart? Well, these are things that I remember as when I first started teaching. And so raising teachers' salary is a priority for me. And the current legislators, they're already moving in that direction. So I would just continue to work with them to increase teacher pay. I would like to see our starting salary for teachers at $60,000. And we can do that. So as far as addressing the teacher shortage, like I said, that program for partnering with our universities and tech schools and increasing teacher pay. The other part of that is the retaining them. So once we recruit them, we have to retain them. Our working conditions, that needs to be improved, and that's several things. It's leadership, and I'm not pointing fingers or blaming anybody, but I'm telling you from my experience, we have people in leadership positions who've not been trained properly to, work together with the faculty, or they don't have the proper leadership training. Because I don't believe people are born leaders. I believe they grow into leaders. I'm not saying that you're not born with leadership qualities, we're born with leadership qualities, but like good leaders, you grow into good leaders. But in order to do that, you need some type of training. And right now, one of the things that I've seen, because like I said, I've been at every single level, so I've been to the meetings with administrative training. What that training looks like is, it's a Google Classroom where you just answer questions, you might have conversations. It's not real training. It's not real mentorship. So one of the things that I want to bring to improving the leadership conditions here in South Carolina is mentorships. We need mentors for not just our teachers, we need mentors for our principals, we need mentors for our superintendents. And one of the superintendents in Marion County, for example, Dr. Bethay, she's she's retiring. And so what I plan to do is lean into people like Dr. Bethay, these superintendents who are retired, and they can mentor the current superintendents or superintendents that are new superintendents. Again, that helps strengthen the leadership. And then principals that have retired or who have been principals for a while. They can train up the younger principals. That way we have this mentorship program, so that way we can grow our leadership. And another thing for retaining teachers, I already mentioned the pay, but also other incentives. And each area is different. So, for example, childcare might be an incentive in one area, but for a rural area, it might be housing. And how we get that done is working together with the community. I don't know if you guys heard of how in Fairfield, they created a whole community for teachers. It's teacher housing they have in Fairfield County. But it took the school district, the community, working together, and they were able to create that. So, like I said, it depends on the area, what incentives we can offer to retain our teachers, because each area is different, the needs are different. And question 4, what is your stance on tenured teacher positions versus attracting new talent into positions, into teaching positions? So with tenure, for the people that don't know, with tenure, once a teacher retires, they can go back into to teaching again, and it's like, they call it double dipping. I don't have an issue with tenure. Let me say this. One of the issues with tenure that I hear is you have teachers who are returning, who've retired, who they're just in it for the money. And this is how I plan to address this. I want to actually revamp how we do tenure. Because like I told you, I'm all about mentorship and development. Why can't we use these tenured teachers to mentor our new teachers? Because that's another program that's missing in South Carolina. I mean, in certain areas, you do have mentor programs. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's missing all over, but it's spotty in certain areas. So I would like us to be more consistent as a state where every teacher is supported with mentor, at least our new teachers, because you know, teachers who are those veteran teachers, allow them to be the mentor teachers. So it's a continuous cycle of mentorship, of improving, of growing. So that is my stance on tenure. I would like to, because we do need tenured teachers right now because of the teacher shortage. They're filling that gap of the teacher shortage. But like I said, I'd prefer to have our newer teachers in those positions and then our tenured teachers more as mentors for our new teachers. Do you think the local counties should, this is number 5, do you think the local counties should impose builder impact taxes to support the need for more schools as more homes are built in a school district? My answer to that is yes. Because I live in Somerville. I don't know if you guys are familiar, in Somerville, the Cane Bay area, which has exploded. And they're starting to build like apartments on top of apartments on top of apartments. And so all of these children are going into, they're like crammed into these schools, and it's overcrowded. They promised the parents that they wouldn't be in trailers, or what do they call them, cottages? Well, yeah, portables, but the teachers call them like cottages. You know, teachers, we have like fancy names for things. But these portables are called like little cottages. But they said that they, you know, wouldn't have this, but here we are with like the land is full of these portables, these cottages, because of the overcrowdedness. And so in order to build more schools, there needs to be more money, and the impact taxes could help with that. The impact taxes could help with hiring more teachers. The impact taxes could also help provide those incentives that I was telling you, how we can retain and recruit teachers. So, and with it being put on the builders, it's not put on us, the people. So that's my stance on that. And again, thank you for this opportunity.